Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to review Blockbuster Season 1, Episodes 4 through 6. So, now to talk about the movie references, because there are usually very few of them within these episodes, because we have a movie store that barely talks about film. It's true. It's true. It's ridiculous. So in 3 episodes, we go on to have like Percy and Timmy like referencing the Will Smith movie Hitch. And of course, if people do not know, the Will Smith movie is to be like this date film where Will Smith is to take on all these clients, and all these clients don't have the confidence to be able to get these women, and so Will Smith and his kind of pickup artist brain is to come up with ways to get the two of these people together, and then really have Will Smith kind of like, hey man, like go on and get this girl, and so you can go on and be with her and whatever, what have you. So they end up referencing that, like Kevin James being in that film and so on and so forth. So it seems that they actually know about the film as far as just the cast list, and that's about it. So we also go on and reference in this number of episodes, we have the reference of The Room and Room. Because, of course, Carlos is talking to Connie and stating that there is a difference because there is a the in between them. And that's all that Connie heard from Carlos, instead of like, what is the actual difference between the two movies? So, The Room is to actually be a Brie Larson film where she ends up getting her and her daughter kind of held hostage into this room to have Brie Larson need to go on and give her daughter these kind of very cheap, kind of very handmade presents for certain holidays, because they don't have anything beyond what's in this room for Brie Larson's character to just kind of make. And fairly often in this story, we have the girl who needs to go into this closet so that way Brie Larson can seduce this man, who of course is keeping her captive. So that's The Room. And then Room is actually the Tommy Wiseau film, which has quite a bit of skin in it, and is to also have the comedic or not comedic, we're not quite sure, even though they go on to explain, oh yeah, it was a comedy after all. And we get classic lines like, oh hi Mark, and oh hi doggy, and like this and that. And I'm just like, what weird goofy lines that we have in this film. And like so many stories that just kind of come out of nowhere and they're just oddly delivered. But that's The Room. So really, that's all the references that we get in this movie, or get in these episodes. But they don't even go on and really thoroughly explain either one of these movies as if they know what they're really talking about. It feels like they just read the description or read the cast list of these films because they don't know, because they didn't like prepare for like talking about either one of these films. So with that said, let's go into talking about each individual episode. So we have episode 4 that is to be called the Itsy Busies, and come to find out, we have Timmy, who has been nominated with his Blockbuster business to be connected to this local award show that they are to give small businesses like a grand prize of like $5,000 so they can kind of keep their business going. And come to find out, Timmy is like thinking like, well, like I have more to focus on than just that. But then all of a sudden we turn around and have Timmy, who ends up getting so ridiculously focused on this $5,000 grand prize ITZY award, that really that becomes the whole focus of this episode. And even more so than in these three episodes and the past other ones, we really start to have Connie that is really in a lot of the stories. Like, it seems that she's getting more involved than any of the other cast members, because I guess they couldn't figure out what to do with anybody else besides Connie, who I guess is to be much more the comic relief. Yeah, we do have Carlos and Hannah going on and still having certain things that they're doing, but like I honestly like forget about them because they're just a small portion of story for these episodes. But so but we have the characters all going on in episode 5 kind of talking about like what would they do with that kind of money, and so I'll get into more about that in spoilers. So episode 5, so episode 5 goes on and has absolutely nothing to do nothing to do with the Blockbuster store, whatever. Like, really, we just have episode 5 called King of Queens that just deals with Timmy finally deciding that he needs to go on and he needs to date other people because Eliza is going on and still dating Aaron. So Timmy's like, well, like, I feel like I need to go on and like I need to start dating. Like, I need to not be so focused on this store, and try to go on and have some kind of life. So that, of course, is the episode where we go on to reference uh, the Hitch movie. Like, that's where we go on to reference that in 5 of 6. So we have Percy and we have Timmy and we have like Percy's daughter that is all trying to get Timmy these dates. And so Eliza is kind of getting frustrated with Aaron because she really wants to go to a like nice fresh restaurant instead of going on and doing what Aaron wants. And so we're starting to see some dissension in the ranks as Eliza is really starting to see that maybe things with her aren't working out, and she's starting to look at Timmy and she's like, like maybe I like this guy and I just don't want to admit it. And so because when Eliza and Timmy are to start talking and so on and so forth, it just feels like Eliza is wanting to get with Timmy. But we'll see if that ever goes anywhere within this first season, or maybe by the end of the season, that's when finally they'll pull the trigger, but I'm not sure. Anyways. And then we have parental control. Parental control, of course, is a episode where we have Timmy coming in and Eliza is to finally tell Timmy that they should go on and do inventory, because there is quite a bit of time where the wrong discs are in the wrong boxes, and really they need to go on and make sure that they have all the things that they need. So, especially with this store going under. So, we have Timmy who's like, okay, like, let's go on and let's do inventory, but it seems that they didn't really prepare all that well because they just kind of like just at the drop of the hat just decided to do inventory. So a lot of people are working much later than they are to have expected, and we have characters like Connie who seems to be stating that it's like, well, hey, like normally I'd be bed by 7, but now like since we have this inventory, I'm staying up even later, and so on. So we have at one point where Eliza is talking about her like me time and how she wants to get home before Aaron does, so that way she can go on and see her bizarre Korean show called Trout Royale. So everybody talks about how Trout Royale is such a good show, and Eliza's like, yeah, I get it. I just want to race home so I can watch this show without subtitles, or I can watch the show with subtitles instead of having to watch it in English dub. And so Eliza is just kind of crazily wanting to get this inventory done. And Timmy, of course, is having uh, consistent time where he is to run off to meet up with his parents who are at this old folks' home. And he bizarrely ends up giving them a movie to watch that, of course, is Saw 3. And, and so, uh, yeah, so with that said, yeah, that's like the basis of the last episode. We also, it seems, have Carlos, who is to have to not only come out of the closet, not only once, but now he's going to go on and have to come out of the closet twice. Because it seems that Carlos is to really want to go into film school rather than accounting. The funny thing of it is Carlos is to mention that, man, even in film school there's accounting, because it's like there's a book that states lights, camera, accounting, and then he's like, bah. So, anyways, so with that said, let's go on and let's get into that double five time territory. It's about that time yet again to, of course, go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time again to spoil this episode. So let's go into it. So episode 4. So when we get into episode 4, we have Timmy making his way to the store to have Eliza break it to Timmy that he is to be nominated for the Itsy Bitsy Busy award. And Tim is like, okay, well, like, that's great and all, but I can't really focus on that. Like, I have a store to run. And so Eliza goes on and is to talk to Timmy about it. It's like, well, hey, like, shouldn't you go on and try to really press to get this so you can kind of get like the eviction, like so you'll have money to pay for that? And so Timmy ends up going and stating it's like, well, like, yeah, but like, so Timmy goes on and tells Eliza by themselves, it's like, well, yeah, like I nominated myself. Timmy did, because Timmy is so desperate to get this award so he can have some kind of extra money flowing. But we have Timmy and we have Eliza, and so when Timmy kind of starts to walk off and go back in the back to kind of throw something away, I think it's kind of old yogurt or something like that. So Timmy meets up with Percy, who is to have found this burrito and is asking Timmy, hey man, you want a burrito? And so Timmy's just like, no. So they're going on, and both Timmy and Percy are talking about how, like, Percy had evicted him, but it seems like they're being friends, and Percy's just like, well, yeah, like, so I evicted you, and Timmy's like, yeah, and you did it in a very cowardly way, and Percy's like, I'm sorry, like, so Percy and Timmy are just kind of talking along here, so really we go on to have Percy talking about how he used to be like nominated for that, but now since his business is way much more bigger, that really he like could not care less about an award like that. And it's also just kind of weird, and even Kayla mentions this, like how much time Percy's really spending at this store compared to his own business. Like, this guy is consistently like coming into the store and just needing something to talk about or something to do, and I'm like, dude, don't you have your own business to run? Like, are we just like waiting for Percy to just tell us that like Percy has now like lost his own business because he wasn't keeping track of it, because he rarely is at that store anymore? Maybe there's a reason why he's not at that store. But so we go on to have Timmy, who's trying to think of like the strategies that they can do to get this ITZY award. And so Connie comes up with the strategy of like, well, hey, like maybe Timmy just needs like a makeover. And so like they're going and they're talking about all the like the makeover movies, like She's All That, where it's like Timmy may go on and look drastically different, but he'll still be the same person inside. So like that, of course, was the Freddie Prinze Jr. bet film that I think ended up being parodied on the Not Another Teen movie. Um, but yeah, so I think they mentioned She's All That, and I think they mentioned another movie. So at least like there is some other kind of movies being referenced here beyond what I just stated from the early part of this, but still. So Timmy goes on and is to get a makeover, but he gets a makeover from Renee, who is to be this dog groomer. So Timmy goes and gets this cut, and his hair looks like a tweed bit different. So Timmy comes in there is mentioning about using like volume to get his hair up and so on and so forth. So we now go on to have like the local news covering Timmy, so he can like talk about him being nominated. And so Eliza's asking like Timmy, it's like, well, like how are you going to act here? How are you really going to like how are you going to be? And so they go on and they also are to reference certain Boss movies where it's like Boss Baby or The Devil's Advocate. So I guess, yeah. So we reference more movies, but do these people even know what they're talking about? Probably not. Um, so we have Timmy that goes on and is to be like, okay, well, like, I know what I need to say now. So immediately when Timmy does this interview, he mentions that his store is his playground, and that also Timmy is to kind of look back and just say that these are all my people. And like, sounds like a bit of a douche thing to say, but whatever. So Timmy then turns around and is to also Timmy and Connie are to rush off to go to Percy's store. And you know what, in all honesty, because Timmy is mentioning to Percy, it's like, well, hey, I'll get you the money so that way I can kind of keep the store afloat. And you know what, if I were Percy and if I would have found out that that Timmy would have been buying stuff in my store, if I were Percy, I would have just been like, well, hey, like, you have money to, like, buy stuff at my store, but you don't have the rent for me? That's what I would have said, but that never comes up. So, if anything, instead, so we have Percy again buying up all these items, basically mimicking the exact same thing that they did for the pilot episode with the whole like Blockbuster party or whatever. And Timmy was to go on and say that he maxed out all of his credit cards in the first episode. So what kind of money does he really have to afford all of this lavish candlelight that's going on in the Blockbuster store? And so the funny thing of it is they put together all of the this mood lighting and all this kind of stuff, and so now Timmy is asking much or acting much more different to have even other characters start to realize like, man, like Timmy's acting strange. So we go on and we have a night where uh there's a bunch of mood lighting going on in the store, and we have a point where Connie is to realize that the registers aren't working, and so she's to try to go on and go to Timmy to get the register fixed, and Timmy is to talk about how he's so busy, like kind of schmoozing all the people in the store, that he doesn't have time to go and like fix Connie's problem. Maybe Connie should fix it herself. So we go on and have Eliza that is complaining to Timmy how the mood lighting is to go on and have a lot of customers go on and not be able to read any of the movies. They can't see what they're trying to rent. And we even have people who are completely knocking into certain movie aisles, and like Timmy goes on and be like, well, like the one guy, like the first two were by accident, but the third one was just on purpose because he's getting frustrated. So they go on, and so Timmy doesn't care about like what's going on. So how this all comes to a head is that because of all the candles and because of all the stuff, we go on to have the Blockbuster catch on fire. And so, like, everybody runs out of the store. Timmy is having this fire extinguisher, blows it all out. So, we, of course, have Timmy that realizes his mistake now. It's like, you know what? Like, this is all a big, massive mistake. Like, I should not have gone on and done any of this. We also had Timmy that bizarrely had this, like, dog collar thing that he was wearing as this, like, necklace. And so while Timmy and Eliza were talking and having Timmy like realize the mistakes he's made, and Eliza's like, "Well, it's okay because when looking at it, uh, like the fire department was to be um, needing to use this kind of fire as some drill." So here's the funny thing, though, like so the store catches on fire and there's no thing of that in the following episodes. You won't obviously see something being boarded up in the background or anything like that. There's no tie to the store being on fire. What a mistake that was, right? So yeah, so we also have in this episode where everybody's starting to talk about what they could do with $5,000. And Carlos is stating it's like, well, hey, $5,000 is not like hitting the Powerball. It's not the same thing. How everybody is like kind of thinking that they would just like retire or something like that. And it's like Carlos is just like, well, like it's not the same. Like $5,000 isn't going to get you as far as it used to. So Hannah's going on and mentioning that she wouldn't know what to do with that kind of money because Hannah is a ridiculous cheapskate. So much so that even when something is free, Hannah doesn't go on and take advantage of it because, like, she is such a cheapskate. Because Carlos is to go on and mention that Hannah doesn't even rent any of the movies from the store, even though she should, because it's free. So, come to find out, Hannah is to like try and get every little bit of this peanut butter out of this jar to kind of put into this little piece of bread. So Carlos is forcing Hannah like, hey, you need to splurge. Like you need to go on and like put shrimp with your nachos or something like that. So come to find out, finally, Carlos goes with Hannah to this bar, and Carlos is like, wow, Hannah, you're actually going on and you're splurging. And Hannah's like, well, like, I just came here because the nachos are actually $2 cheaper. And so Carlos is like, God dang it. Like, this girl just won't stop, like, trying to cut costs or trying to get a cheaper amount of money. And so, because Carlos even takes Hannah to go out to this nail salon, and she ends up having a coupon for it. And so Carlos is like, well, of course. Like, if anything, this girl is actually going to get money back instead of getting getting herself to splurge. So, yeah, so there's a whole episode just about that. So, with that said, by the end of this episode, between both Timmy and Eliza, we kind of start to see that there might be an inkling that these two might end up together. Like the closer and closer they have these little moments, but uh, who knows if it's ever really going to get there, because they can keep playing that up throughout the whole season. But who knows if it's ever really going to actually happen. So, uh, so with that said, we go on to the following episode, which of course is King of Queens. So, in this next episode, we of course go on to uh, have Tim, who is finally stating that he needs to move on from Eliza, and he really needs to start dating other people and kind of get past like just focusing so much on the store. So we have Kayla that goes on and makes Timmy this dating app, and so Timmy is starting to get all these dates on this dating app. But then also Timmy, while talking to Eliza, and how Eliza is talking about uh, her date night with Aaron, and how they're going to go to this French restaurant, and because Eliza had gone on to manipulate Aaron to go to this French restaurant by having her like in the background of all these like French movies, and then Aaron sees like the Bourne Identity poster and is like, well, hey, like maybe we should go to that French restaurant because the first Bourne Identity movie was done in France. It's like, okay, I don't remember that whatsoever. But so we have Timmy that goes on as a rebuttal because Renee is in the store, and like she's talking about how maybe Renee and Timmy can go out sometime, but Timmy has really no interest in Renee just because it's like, no, like I don't like the fact that she works at this dog grooming place, and no, like so come to find out when Eliza is talking about her going off to this date, Timmy's like, well, hey, like me and Renee are gonna go to this one bar, and Renee's like, are we? And Timmy's like, yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. So Renee's like, okay, great, yeah. Like, so both Timmy and Renee go off to this bar. And again, we're having so much focus on a movie store, right? So the funny thing of it is Timmy goes on to go on this date for Renee, but also Kayla is to have Timmy's like dating app, and she is to also send a number of other dates uh, at Timmy's date to just kind of mess this all up. So, because Percy just wants to watch on with Kayla to see how this is going to go horribly awry. So, Eliza is talking to Connie, and she really is getting annoyed that Aaron is going and having her do all these dates that she really wants nothing to do with. That Eliza is going with Aaron on these kind of zombie adventures or zombie escape rooms or something like that, and Eliza wants nothing to do with that. If anything, she just wants to relax and like have this like calm, cool night, and so on and so forth. So Connie is telling Eliza, it's like, well, you need to go on, you need to manipulate Aaron into doing what you want, or just kind of make so many suggestions that it'll make it feel like he's making the suggestion and not you. So Eliza goes on to try to manipulate Aaron to go into this French restaurant, and come to find out Aaron's needs are so simple that it doesn't go on and fit this French restaurant. We have Aaron who goes on and asks this waiter at this French restaurant, it's like, well, hey, can I just get a like a beer where the mountains glow because it's cold, and like the magic beer. And so the waiter's like, okay, I think I can get something like that. But then he ends up stating, like, well, can I have it in a bottle? What was the point of getting the magic beer? Anyways, so we have Eliza that goes on to realize that, like, this date is going to be a mistake, and Aaron is going to have to, like, do what he, like, give up what he wants, like, common day to day stuff to go on to this restaurant where he's just not going to like this. So instead, Eliza compromises and goes to this bar so Aaron can get the beer he wants. And so Eliza is now going to the same bar where Timmy is at, so that way Eliza can technically spy on Timmy. Having Eliza know more and more, realize more and more that things with her and Aaron aren't working out. And so Eliza is hoping that Timmy's date is not going to work out that well. And actually, Timmy's date goes really well. Even surprisingly enough, Timmy starts to have all of these dates show up. And now all of a sudden, Timmy is to have all these dates just sit down around him. And all the dates are to just be happy that they're there. And so Timmy's to walk off, just like, okay, hey, yeah, I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna run off. Just give me a minute, I'll be back. And so Timmy all of a sudden is to spot Eliza and is to mention that he has like some kind of jalapeno thing in his eye that he kind of hopes that she can kind of help him get this kind of little jalapeno thing out of his eye, jalapeno juice, something like that. So Timmy and Eliza are talking, and so Eliza asks Timmy about the whole, like, how's the date going? And Timmy's like, well, surprisingly well, even though, like, I'm juggling a bunch of women, and so on and so forth. And Eliza's like, ooh, wow, like, yeah, I guess you are going well. So it seems Timmy and Eliza are closer and closer to just, like, having Eliza just wanting to, like, well, maybe I should get with Timmy instead of, like, focusing so much on Aaron. So, but like again, they just kind of walk off to their certain dates, and Timmy was also talking to Eliza and is like, well, hey, why is it that you're wanting to go on and be at this bar? Because you hated this bar. Like, I remember you hating this bar, so why are you here? Are you here just to spy on me? And Eliza's just like, well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But Eliza makes up the excuse that Aaron needs his certain kind of beer, so that's the real reason why they're there, supposedly. So we have Timmy get back to his date that is going very well, and so Eliza goes on to her date. So we go on into, of course, what is to be. We also have Carlos. In one of these episodes, Carlos is talking about him and coming out and wanting to be this film star, and I think that ends up being on the next episode, not this one. I'm trying to think of all the side characters that go on into this episode, if there's any like side stories that are going on with this one. No, I think everything is just kind of focused on that. So let's get into the next episode, which of course is parental control. So we come into this last episode and we have Timmy coming into the store, and Eliza's mentioning that's like, well, hey, we should really get to that inventory. And Timmy's like, yeah, like, I completely understand what you mean. So we have Timmy telling everybody that they're going to be like late staying tonight, but it seems that Timmy is so occupied with getting a phone call from his parents, and I guess his phone, this phone call is to state that like his parents don't see eye to eye, so like he's kind of the mitigator. So Timmy goes off to see his parents, and come to find out, we have Timmy's mother that steals this wheelchair from a girl named Sheila. And so now we just have this girl who is just kind of like at this chair, and she's just kind of like fumbling around. And Timmy's like, "Are you Sheila?" And the woman's like, "Yeah, I'm Sheila." So we have Timmy that goes on and is to want to give this movie to his parents so they can rent this film. And come to find out, Timmy was to think that he can go on and give a good movie for his parents, but come to find out instead, they are sitting down to watch Saw 3. So Timmy's parents are all watching Saw 3, and as if it's just this, like, oh man, like, let's definitely watch this film. Everybody, get together. As if this is like some classic movie that everybody definitely wants to go on and see all together. So we have Timmy that leaves and is going back into the store to try to do inventory. And so we have Eliza that is going on and complaining that it's like, man, I like I don't want to do inventory, because Eliza was hoping that like she could recommend doing inventory, but then she'll just leave because her shift is up. And Timmy's like, no, like I need everybody here to do inventory. So Eliza makes the suggestion to do inventory, hoping that she's not actually going to be there for it. Isn't that always the thing to do? Certain employees are just like, well, yeah, like I want this big massive project, but I don't want to be there to actually do it. And it's like, well, of course you don't, because like that's the toughest project. So like that's the thing that I would always like ask people. I'm like, okay, like who recommended doing this project, and why is it that all of a sudden I got pinned for it? It's like, well, like you need the hours, right? It's like, not really. It's like, oh, okay, well, you just needed to be here. It's like, well, no. Like I feel like it's one of those instances that there's a lot of people that's like the lowest man on the totem pole ends up getting the crappiest job. Um, and normally, like if you're always the person that gets a crappy job, guess what? You're gonna get the crappy job always. Um, that's the thing. That's always gonna be the, as I said, always a lot. Anyways, moving on. So everybody's coming in for inventory, and Eliza is just so focused on seeing the Trout Royale show. She's like, "Oh, I really want my me time, huh? Because I'm spending so much time with Aaron." Then dump his ass. Then dump Aaron. That's how you'll get your me time all the time. Is if you dump Aaron. In all honesty. Because if she's whining about her me time, then like just tell Aaron. It's like, well, hey, like I want to be by myself for a couple days, yada yada yada. Like there are certain times where in relationships you can just say like, well, yeah, like I just want to be alone, and it's like, okay, great. Um, like I think, yeah, there might be some like needy relationships, or there might be people that are like, no, like I want to see you every single night, until at some point we just break up, because of course that's what's going to happen. It's natural to probably just have people that are just going to bicker because it's just like we spend way too much time with one another, or what we do together is just not productive enough. Anyways, um, but moving on. A lot of people can feel different ways about relationships and so on and so forth. But anyways, so Eliza is to go on and is to start complaining about Aaron, and how like he likes to watch something a different way than she does, and that Aaron likes to go on and watch things that she doesn't, and so on and so forth. I'm like, break up with him already. Just pull the cord now. Good God, Eliza, you're just wham, 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 wham. Break up with him. Obviously, you don't like this guy. Just break freaking up with him. Because obviously, when Eliza talks with Timmy by the end of this episode, after Timmy has gone on for the second time, going off to run to see what's going on with his parents, and the parents are just bickering that like normally like Timmy is spending too much time at the store and not enough time with them, and it's really just because he's the mitigator between both of them to kind of keep them happy and so on and so forth. So that's the only reason why he's there. And so like Timmy is just like, well, hey, I have an inventory, I have a job to do, and I'm sorry, but bye. um and then also like Timmy is to tell his mother like, give Sheila back her wheelchair, you obviously don't need it. um because Eliza is the state. It's like, oh well, no, um, like my legs hurt because I'm with this guy. Her husband is just like, yeah, whatever. Just, anyways. So we have Eliza, and she's trying to do inventory. So we have Connie, who is really starting to doze off. She's really starting to sleep here. So we have Eliza manipulating Connie into taking this 5 hour energy, but then weirdly, Connie, once she takes this 5 hour energy, is starting to dance and starting to just slap all these movies and all these shows into the ground because she's like, no, 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 like Steve Carell, stick to TV, this and that. And it's like, so now let's go on and let's talk about Carlos. So Carlos is whining to Hannah about him needing to go through this accounting school. And so Carlos at some point is to go on and realize that like the whole counting thing is just the icing on the top of the cake of things for him, because Carlos is to also, from the episode before, talk about having all the coworkers swiping left or swiping right on certain customers and kind of like bad mouthing them almost like 5 feet away from them to the point where Carlos is having his own dating problems with Damon, it seems, because they reference him in this episode, but he's not really there. And so Carlos is mentioning how like certain people could give Carlos certain things. So this one customer is going on and like getting up to the register and just blah 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 blah, and they're like, wow, this girl is talking a lot. And so the one customer that Carlos likes is to be this one kind of customer. And Carlos is like, oh my god, yeah, like I realize my problem. Like I'm seeing uh, people that might look good, but uh, like on the inside, there's not much good about them. So like Carlos just kind of walks away and blah blah blah. So that's one from the last episode, not this episode. This episode, Carlos is dealing with his accounting school issue. So come to find out, we have Carlos who goes on to be doing this video with Connie as she was dancing around and doing all these things. And so Carlos ends up just chucking this video together and putting out online about Connie and this and that. And I'm assuming that the video is probably going to go like amazingly viral, and maybe that'll be a whole nother video where all of a sudden Connie is to have to be this viral star and is getting business into the store, and maybe that'll be a whole thing to have another freaking Connie episode where it feels like she is like doing everything that no one else is. Honestly, there is quite a bit of characters that just feel like they're there. Like Kayla, I guess, is to just be the midriff character where you can kind of just see her belly, and that's as good as. She has no real usefulness. Like, we're not finding anything interesting about her. Like, we're not really. Like, she's just this person who could care about this job or could care less about this job. So, yeah, like, I'm just so confused about, like, well, like, why do they have an ensemble cast when a lot of times, like, most of the story is just kind of carried on the Timmy character or the Eliza character. It really is. Like, they could honestly go and have this store with way less staff, and but that's the thing. Like, they need an ensemble cast because it's a comedy. But like, I think that there's quite a bit of stories that I don't really care about in this show. It's just that's how I feel. So we we also had the substitute teacher bit where the substitute teacher was coming into this to the Blockbuster wanting to rent this one movie because his substitute teacher doesn't want to go on and do his job. He's like, I just want to give I just want to show a movie to my class, and so he's like, help me figure out what movie to get. So come to find out, they couldn't give the substitute teacher the one movie that he needs. So the substitute teacher could just kind of gives up, and he's just like, well, like, I'll just go on and I'll watch like Titanic or something like that for these people, so I can just kind of not do anything for that day. So here's the funny thing, though. Uh, so for a lot of times when the teachers would just go on and like, hey, we're gonna just watch a movie today, it's like, great, like those were like the greatest days, because simply we then may go on and have like a movie day where we not only have to see it for one day, but then it'd be like 2 days we're just kind of watching a film, and I think those were like the most fun days because we wouldn't have to do any work. So or sometimes we'd have this stupid paperwork, this stupid uh like paper to write up, and I'd just be like, dude, I've already seen this movie. So like, I would just quickly write up the whole film and just hand in the paperwork and just be like, okay, like, I could just sit around and just kind of wait for this movie to be done because I've already seen the film. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, am I just gonna go on and uh like not watch the movie? Or am I gonna just go on and just like do the answers as the thing comes up in the film? Because that's what a lot of teachers would tell you. It's like, oh no, you need to go on and just kind of wait to the part of the moment happens in the movie and then write it down on the. I'm like, dude, I already know this freaking film. Like, I've already seen it like 5 times before you even showed it to me. Because that's the whole thing about having an older sibling. The older sibling would go on and just say like, oh yeah, I watched this movie in class, and just be like, okay, let's watch that movie. So like, I've already seen it. um so yeah, so it would always be like, I could watch these movies ahead of time and have already like seen all of them before they come up in class, because also I was a movie person anyways and no one else was, so it's just like, yeah, like, I know all the answers. And it's kind of hilarious because then a lot of other like students would need to go on and ask me, it's like, well, like, hey, like what answer did you have for like 7? And I was like, it was the butler. Oh, okay, all right. It's like, yeah, like, I didn't like, there'd be a lot of people that end up like needing to ask me like answers for like the movie because they didn't get it or they haven't seen it or whatever, and I would just have to help them because it's like, yeah, like I've seen this like 5 times, like, so anyways. So yeah, so with that said, I'm just gonna get out of here so I can try to make this a lot shorter than hopefully it should actually be. So I know I just kind of rammed through a lot of these episodes, but I'm also thinking that nobody's going to really care after that first review. So if surprisingly people do, then I will be grateful for people who are consistently watching on the series and so on and so forth. Let me know what your favorite moment was from this show. If something that I did not get into, maybe it was a big event that I completely just kind of forgot about or could not have been bothered to focus on, um, then let me know about that too. So with that said, I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, buddy. Bye, buddy.